Welcome back, everyone. Massive spoilers ahead. Please go back to an earlier chapter. If you are not prepared to accept these truth bombs for Case 2 and 1 and mainly 2. Like you said, it all happened 2 months ago. The coppers got hold of me and shoved me into the witness stand. And based on your testimony, Mr. McGildred was declared innocent. Yeah, well, the thing is, I lied about the whole bunch of stuff. I knew it. What sort of thing did you lie about? I was hiding under the seat that night. That was the truth. It was pitch black in that little cubbyhole. I couldn't see a thing, and then... thud. I heard that loud thud, like someone falling off the floor. And it was then Mr. McGildred discovered you. Yeah. He pulled me out from under the seat and sat me next to the dead man. There wasn't much light to see by, but when I looked at me hands, I had Cub's blood all over him. I was so scared I couldn't even speak. You had this blood on your hands. In other words, it was Gina that was the witness in the roof deck saw in the skylight. Then Mr. McGildred started asking you questions, I suppose. Who you were and why you were hiding under the seat. Yeah, he did. Only, that's not all. What do you mean? I mean, he threatened me. Threatened you how? He made me swear about what I'd seen and what I'd heard. About what I was going to do after the cove was found dead. He made me swear I wouldn't tell no one about any of it. If I did that, he said he'd let me scarp it before the coppers showed up. Gina, you must tell me what he swore you to secrecy about. What you saw and what you heard. Everything. See no evil, hear no evil. In the future is evil. You said Mr. McGildred made you swear not to tell anybody what you saw. But you were in the pitch black compartment under the set seat the whole time, weren't you? Yes, with Mr. McGildred sitting above your head, if I remember correctly. Yeah, that's true. But it was when I heard the thud of a cove hit in the floor, I let out a little scream, see? Couldn't help it. McGildred heard that and dragged me out by my arm. And that's when I saw it. It was on the floor next to the old geezer what had been stabbed. A disc. All bright and shiny. A disc? Do you mean... Yeah, that's it. The one which the D took off me at the Windy Banks. So the music box disc was there on the floor of the omnibus. Not for long, Mr. Gildred spotted it straight away. He picked it up smartish and stuffed it in its inside pocket. So that disc was in the omnibus 2 months ago at the scene of Mr. Mason's murder. And that bog trotter told me. I weren't to mutter a word of it to no one. Because it was so dark under that seat in the cab, I was straining me ears the whole time. After a while, I heard the door and the footsteps inside the cabin. Presumably that was Mr. Gildred getting on board. Nah, not only him. Oh, because I could definitely make out the footsteps of 2 people. In that case, it would seem likely that it was Mr. McGildred and the victim, Mr. Thrice-Fayed Mason. In his testimony during the trial, Mr. McGildred claimed he slept during the carriage ride. But whenever I'm in a carriage, I'm taken with a fierce tiredness and I always succumb to it. And your own testimony, Gina, supported this. All I could hear was the Irishman snoring. It's the lady from Case 1. She made both of them pass out and then killed the one and then left. Yeah, they weren't exactly true. Neither of them was asleep. I could hear him talking the whole time in low voices. It's either that or the lady in Case 1 is currently poisoning the guy out in Japan, her father. What were they talking about? Either way, there's something big happening here. I don't know, the sound of the horses and the wheels was too loud. But that still tells us something. Mr. McGildred and the victim knew each other. So McGildred was lying, and as I suspected. I knew it weren't going to take long before someone raised the alarm that bloke had been killed. Yes, you were quite right. The other passengers on the roof deck noticed very quickly. So when the cab came to a stop, McGildred told me to idle back under the seat again. I climbed in and waited. The two coves from up front ran off to get the coppers. Yes, Mr. Fairplay and Mr. First. Right. And after they'd gone, Mr. McGildred asked the driver to do him a favor. A favor? Now then, fella, what I need you to do is take this coat of mine and deposit it with a nearby pawnbroker. And for your troubles, let's see now. I'll give you 10 guineas. A nearby pawnbroker? You mean on Baker Street? Yep, you got it. It was Windybanks. The coachee snapped up the money and ran off to pop his coat as fast as he could. So then there was no one left in the carriage. McGildred opened the box under the seat and let me get out of there. But not without conditions. I see. What were McGildred's conditions then? For letting you go free, I mean. Not telling a soul, not for anything about what I saw and what I heard. And there was something else as well. There's more. Yeah, this is the most important thing, he said. I'm after sending a coachman on a little errand for me, with some small change in his hand. Now then, did you hear what I asked of him? Did you see anything at all? You asked him I'm going to go pop your weasel, right? Aye. The fiend's taken me overcoat to deposit with the pawnbroker hereabouts. And I want you, lass, to take the redemption ticket for it. Do you understand? What? You want me to have the ticket? That's right, and I'll come fetch it from you later. Sometime within the next 2 months. You're to hang on to it until then, is that clear? And whatever you do, don't lose it. Alright then. And in case I might happen to be undelayed at all, you're to go to the pawn shop, Windybank, you're to extend the loan after 2 months is up. If you forget, the article will be forfeited and any old fiend can come along and buy it. But I ain't got that kind of brass. Here's £5, that should be enough. Do we understand each other, lass? Don't try anything funny now if you go against me. Yeah, I get it. Good. And one more thing. In a few days from now, you'll be visited by the police, I've no doubt. The coppers. Aye. They'll come asking you to take the stand in court to testify as a witness. So let's just have a wee chat about that, shall we? What is it that you might say? And what is it you might won't? Yeah, actually, I'm glad this game doesn't have voice acting apart from the scenes because I hate his English voice. Yeah, that's really tough. It's kind of the same with, like, Danganronpa, right? Like, Danganronpa, all the courtroom is voiced. The entire courtroom sections are voiced. Everything. But as soon as you leave the courtroom and have a side quest, I understand. So, this game, Danganronpa, and the first two from the 999 saga, aka 999 and VLR, aren't voiced entirely throughout most of the scenes because, let's face it, I'm having a hard enough time even voicing the game as it is. The budget, you have to pay the actors, the time they put in, etc. It just makes sense, right? It's nothing much you can do. It has nothing to do with the technology not being able to do it. In fact, they could do it if they wanted to. But if these three voice actors, the ones three are in this room, are voicing the characters fully, you have to pay them a whole lot more, right? And yeah, not to mention this tech sound effect has its niche now. And the pawnbroker's ticketed some bushes near the scene. And then you also have to worry about English localization. I went to fetch it the next day once it got dark. So McGildred planned it, and coerced Gina into giving a false testimony. I bet you're ready to string me up, eh? I lied in that big old courtroom. I told them Corkers. The thing is, he said he would make it so we couldn't live in the East End no more. That's what he threatened me with. What a wicked man. He knew everything what went back in the back slums. He knew we had no one to look after us, and we was all just looking out for each other, getting by together. So you mean Mr. McGildred would have, and in heartbeat he could have had a lot of us chased out of there if he wanted. And then where could we have gone, eh? Nowhere, that's where. So, I didn't have no choice. Thank you, Gina, for telling us everything. But, I'm in for it now, eh? Go on, admit it, you must be livid. Well, you can make amends by doing me a simple favor. A favor? What? Sign the representation papers for tomorrow's trial. Eh? And if you don't actually want me to represent you in court, you can rip it up later. But we need the paperwork we can't investigate. The police won't let us. Investigate what? The scene of the incident last night. Mr. Sholmes was shot, you see. You what? Hurley's having a big operation right now, Guinea. Is it bad? Is he going to be alright? Sholmes is going to be alright? Right? That's why I want to investigate for Mr. Sholmes' sake as much as anything. Right. So what you're saying is, if I sign that bit of paper, everyone's happy? Is that it? Something like that. Mrs. Sato. Yes, of course. I have the representation papers here. I don't need no one to stick up for me, though. No lawyer or nothing. Poor Guinea. She seems so lonely. Well, at least this should mean we can investigate the scene at Windybanks now. Yes. And perhaps we can come back to visit Guinea when we're done there. Sholmes probably had it coming. Seems like the kind of guy that pisses people off. He's written in such a way that he's your friend but not your friend, you know? And now I have the representation papers. No one else knows just what a responsibility that is. Like, they make you hate him in the beginning for a reason. Anyway, for now it means Inspector Gregson can't stop us investigating at Windybanks. Although, something tells me he's not going to be happy about it. '16th April, 1:26 p.m. Windybanks. Pawnbroker. Here we are again at the scene of the crime. Now to thrust these representation papers in Gregson's face and see what he makes of them. Hello again, Inspector. Do you have a minute, please? What is it now? You should go home and get some rest. Here you are, Gregsy. Here's the representation papers. Your ladyship. How? I don't believe it. How in the devil do you get that stubborn little ragabash to sign that? I salute you. That is good work, that is. I can see you've been very busy here as well. How about some tea? It's a special blend designed to relieve fatigue. Glug, glug, glug. Glug, 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 mother trucker. Ah, lovely. Well, let's see now. Yes, I hardly feel tired at all. I'm as fit as a fiddle, your ladyship. Would it be alright if we investigated the scene of the crime, then? Do as you please. You know where it happened? Through that door behind the counter. Yes, the storeroom. That is where I discovered Mr. Windybank and Gina. So we have a box in here as well to investigate. Right, well, I'll be getting back to business then. Will you be investigating in the storeroom as well, Inspector? If I'm perfectly honest, we need to wrap this up before long. Can't afford to spend too much time on it. But there's so many articles to go through, it's taking forever, even with all the lads working around the clock. Which is a problem, because there's another case that the yard needs to investigate urgently. That must be what Lord Strongarm meant by far more serious matters before. So what I'm saying is, don't get under my feet, sunshine. Come then. Let us not waste any time. We're about to go investigate the case with a Japanese lady and a 10-year-old. These shelves are where the pawnbroker puts articles that have been forfeited on display for customers to buy. Yes, it's really strange miscellany, isn't it? I mean, who would buy this horse statue, for example? Well, sometimes you can find some real treasures among all the junk, you know. Are you alright, Runo? Oh, it's just... Well, it just looks like a collection of useless junk as a whole, but when you pick out individual things, you can't help but wishing you owned them, even as that horse statue. That's exactly how the pawnbroker works. They're very clever. Ah, look here. Oh yeah, it's a bullet hole. And I can see the bullet is still lodged in the wall. Presumably Mr. Bindybank wasn't practicing with his revolver in his spare time. Ah, well. Mr. Sholmes likes to practice in his drawing room whenever he can. He's very patriotic like that. Sorry? It's all there in the adventures of Herlock Sholmes, you know. Isn't that right, Iris? Ah, did I write something like that? Partly in jest, perhaps. In jest. Well, he doesn't do it often. It's quite a dangerous pastime. He doesn't do it often. He shouldn't even do it once. The Watson to the Holmes. Unfortunately, the Watson is her dad, and he is not with us anymore. What's that around the bullet hole? Is it blood? Suspicious red stain on the calendar. Aha! I may be able to help with that. What? There's nothing like the sight of blood to get the blood pumping, is there, Bruno? I have a feeling I'm not as bloody-minded as you, Iris. I'm afraid the sight of blood makes my blood run cold. There you have it, you see. When it comes to the blood, we're all different types. Yes, without a scientific observation. So you need this. Oh no, what is that scary-looking thing? Hurley and I actually come up with a name for it yet. But as soon as you see it in action, you'll understand what it does. Watch. Oh, the color of the bloodstain has changed. There, does it make sense now? Yeah, I think I'm starting to understand. Good. It works on the principle that different people have different types of blood, you see. Yes, how wonderful. The chemical it fires combines with the blood and makes it change color. So you can identify whose blood it is that you're looking at. In a flash. Oh, what's a fabulous invention, Iris. Isn't it? Isn't it? I bet Guinea would say it's bleeding great. So whose blood are we looking at then? Well, all the chemical does turn into a blood different color, so... Just find someone whose blood turns the same color, and you'll know who it belongs to. In a flash. It's more like two flashes, really, isn't it? One flash or two, this could well turn out to be a very valuable clue. So we must make note of it in the court record. Let's keep testing and adding the results of any other blood analysis to portfolio. No. As long as I have the reagent left, sure. With our article ledger here is Mr. Windybake's notes and... What's this? It looks as though someone has left a little photographic paint behind. Oh, look in the back! There's some writing. Is there? Show us, Susie. Show us. 15th February, 10:30 p.m. Article deposited. 1 gentleman's overcoat. Loan amount paid, £1. Redemption deadline, 15th April, 10:30 p.m. A gentleman's overcoat pawned for £1. Clearly it was a very fine coat. In fact, I think... Yes, this must be the ticket for the overcoat that Ginny redeemed yesterday. And is still wearing, which belonged to McGildred. I would never expected the redemption ticket to be handwritten on the back of a photograph, though. It seems Mr. Windybake just used whatever piece of paper that happened to have on hand. But this photograph of a cat looks very familiar, doesn't it? I'm sure I've seen this exact same picture somewhere else recently. Oh yes, you're right. Very recently. It's the same as the one Guinea gave us earlier. Of course, I was forgetting that she gave us the print. What are you waiting for then, Naruhodo? Get it out. Alright, alright. Let the cogs turn. Yes, they are exactly the same. Hey, I've got it. These two photographs hide an amazing secret. A secret? What does she mean? You must tell us, Iris, at once. Hey, do you really want to know? Yes, what do we need you to tell us all you know about this pair of photographs? They're part of the machine on the far back right of it. So, Iris, about these two photographic prints. The one we found here on Mr. Winniebeck's counter, and the one that Guinea gave us before. What's this amazing secret you mentioned hidden between these two identical prints? Actually, that's not quite right. Sorry. If you look carefully, the two prints aren't the same. Not exactly. They're not. Have another look at them now. Can you see they're just slightly different from each other? I think so. It's very subtle, though. But what's the reason for the subtle difference between the two prints? Ah, well, it's because they're a set, you see. No, I don't. The pair of photographs is meant to be used in a stereoscope. Everyone in London is raving about them at the moment. Ah, stereoscope. Why do I feel as though I've heard that word before recently? Oh, yes. That's what Mr. Sholm showed us yesterday. You see, there it is, just over there. Ah, yes, of course, that magical machine that makes pictures look almost real enough to touch. Well, actually, it's quite possible to see the same depth in pictures even without one of those contraptions. What? Really? Do you know a pair of flat photographic prints can appear to have any depth in the first place? No, I have no idea. Oh, and wonderful. Then I'll be able to tell you. She's over the moon, bless her. Should we let her explain, though? We really need to carry on investigating the case. I, for one, simply have to know. Here we go. Have you ever considered Runo? How our eyes see depth in the world around us? I don't see too much depth because my eye is lazy. Well, I just opened them and it works. But the reason it works is because we have two eyes. Two eyes. Shocking. If you try closing just one eye at a time, I think you'll see straight away. What you see with your left eye. And what you see with your right eye are ever so slightly different. You get a different view of each eye. Yes, the position of the object seems to shift slightly. Exactly. And in your head, your brain uses that shift to estimate depth as it merges the two views into one. That's how we can sense depth in everything we see. Oh, my brain really is amazing, isn't it? It does so much without telling me. Ah, I think I see. So the pair of photographs consists of a left eye view and a right eye view. Is that right? Oh, well done, Susie. You're so quick. So if you can persuade your brains to merge the two pictures together in your head, you'll be able to see the depth in those prints. Yes, Runo, you're beginning to understand. And a stereoscope's function is to act as your brain and allow you to do just that. Yes, but as long as you have two images, two eyes, and one brain, you can actually do it yourself without needing a stereoscope at all. This case is going to stump me because I can't see depth. You can, really. Let's try. Let's see if you can read the pair of prints without the help of a stereoscope. Oh yes, I'm dying to have a go. Susanoo-san really loves this kind of thing. You need to be able to cross your eyes in the main thing. Can you both do that? Cross my eyes, I think I can. Watch me. And see if you can copy. Make your eyes do this. Alright, let me try. Are you ready, Naruhodo? There, how's that? Wonderful, now it's your turn, Rudo. The trick is to concentrate on looking at the bridge of your nose, with both eyes at the same time. Not exactly an easy task when two people are staring at you cross-eyed. Alright, that's enough practice. Let's try looking at the prints. Start by staring at one print and then slowly crossing your eyes. You should see two overlapping images like this. You try now, Runo. Just gonna have to give it a try, I suppose. Did the print split into two images for you? Now the next step is to put the pair of prints side by side like this, and then try crossing your eyes again. The prints should slowly merge together until they form a new single image in the center. Oh yes. Mr. Naruhodo, it works. I can see in the middle now. Looks so real, I can just look at it all day. I wouldn't advise that. Your eyes might start to hurt. Your turn, Runa. I can't fucking do this. My left eye is lazy. I can't do it. I can't fucking do it. Keep adjusting the position of your eyes until the two images overlap exactly in the middle. Like this, is it? There you manage it. So you know how the stereoscopic images work. You know those things that used to be at schools a lot where you have that really cool artist picture you're supposed to cross your eyes and stare at for a long time and see? Not that issue. It just doesn't fucking work for me. So now my confidence is back down again. Thanks a lot, game. Well, I don't know who discovered it, but it really is quite extraordinary. So what do you think of these stereoscopic prints then? They're certainly amazing, but isn't it easy to get the knack of viewing them properly? No, some people find it easier than others. But that's why contraptions like this exist, for people who find it tricky. Oh, I recognize that. We saw one over there yesterday, didn't we? If I remember correctly, you press this little knob here. Then set the pair of photographs in a stand at the back end. It's still amazing even though I know roughly know how it works now. Well, London seems to agree with you. Stereoscopes are very popular at the moment. You can find one of these folding contraptions in lots of households in the capital currently. But it feels a little like... But if these little machines aren't so affordable, surely there's no need to go around starting to cross-eyed pictures like you hate them. But it's much more satisfying to be able to see the effect with your own eyes. Well, I think so in any case. Stereoscopic pictures, I never even heard of them until yesterday. We certainly learned a lot about them, but I wonder if it's knowledgeable that I'll ever actually need. Ledger in the cabinet was really enormous, isn't it? It must have been an awful lot to keep track of all these hundreds of items in pawn. It's too much to think about. Better to sell it all and have a clear head if you ask me. But clearly Mr. Windybank is very careful when it comes to articles in his care. The police are scouring every inch of this place, by the look of it. Instructions for the yard are to examine every article in the shop and every ledger and book on accounts. Every article, but that's a ridiculous amount of work, surely. We've been hard at it ever since the shop was declared a crime scene in the every early hours. We're sifting through it all in shifts at least, but still. We've been all working through the night, that's for sure, and even then we barely scratched the surface. Crime on the pawnbrokers. Must be everyone's policeman's worst nightmare. It's every cosper's worst nightmare, you know, crime on the pawnbrokers. That's a music box. Do you have one where you come from, Bruno? Yes, but I've never seen one as large as this in Japan. Oh, well, this will be a treat. Shall we have a listen? What do you think? Isn't it pretty sound? It's a beautiful sound, yes, but it's a little hard to enjoy when all the policemen in the room are giving you fierce looks. Never mind that. If any of them say anything, I'll tell Gregsy to have a word. Iris Wilson, Superintendent of Scotland Yard. This is that strange contraption that lets you see pictures of things as if they're right in front of your eyes. It makes you think. When Sholmes gleefully showed us this yesterday, we were blissfully unaware that any of this was about to happen. I'm fairly sure this contraption was here yesterday as well. Here we are, though. I'm not confident I can get closed again. Oh, yes. That's a folding stereoscope. Really? This is a stereoscope. Mr. Sholmes showed us a picture yesterday that you were supposed to be able to see them through 3 dimensions. But for that to be used, he used a big contraption over there. Ah, well, that's for use in public houses and places like that. It contains a carousel with all sorts of pictures inside. But this little thing is a much simpler design for use at home. There are special shops selling prints that you can use in them. I have a little collection myself. I wonder if I can make money out of these in Japan. It would beat keeping my toilet sparkling clean anyway. Behind that door is the storeroom, isn't it? That's what Gregsy said. Gonna lurk while doing some nitty carts? Alright. Yes, and that's where I saw the dreadful scene last night. Through that little window in the door. Mr. Winnibeg's face down on the floor with Gina beside him. As the Accursed League's representative, you have the right to examine the scene, Mr. Naruhodo. We must make a thorough investigation. Yes, of course. And we will. Behind that door, that's the real scene of the crime. Don't worry, if there are clues in there, I'll find them. Poor Iris. She's clammed up completely. Iris is bound to find this difficult. After all, Mr. Windybank's life was taken in this very room only last night. Ah! Wait, Inspector. What is it now, Sunshine? You took a one look at me and tried to run away. You think Scotland Yard Inspector would run away from some jumped-up little defense lawyer, do you? Well... I've never seen her ladyship looking like that before, is the thing. I didn't know what to say to her. So you weren't running away from me, you were running away from a 10-year-old. I'm afraid this is all a little much for a young Iris. Some gentle reassurance might go a long way, perhaps, Inspector. Ahem. Don't trouble yourself unduly, your ladyship. I mean, at least you're not dead, are you? That made her feel worse! I don't think that went very well. Why? Look, I'm in the middle of an investigation here, Sunshine. I told you not to get under my feet. We have investigating to do ourselves. Yes. I'd like to hear more of what the socially inept inspector has to say. Oh, Hurley. And inquiring how Mr. Sholm's operation is going. So, Inspector, what do you make of the crime scene here? Yeah, you got eyes, haven't you? Use them. Is that what it looks like? Nothing more, nothing less. Iris, could you lend me a hand? So, Gregsy, what do you want to make of the crime scene here? Oh yes, your ladyship, do allow me to humbly explain. Last night at shortly after the hour of 1 o'clock in the morning, Scotland Yard police attended the scene. The one and only door to the storeroom was found locked from the inside. So it was locked from the inside. The lock appears to be broken now, though. Was that the police officer's doing? Quite right, ma'am, quite right. We took the liberty of smashing the door in, as humbly as possible. Oh. As you can see, the victim was discovered prostrate on the floor, thuswise. And the next to our aforementioned body, we discovered a vile gutter child. Are you talking about Guinea? She's my friend, you know, Inspector. Miss Lestrade, the hapless girl, was curled up on the floor, dead to the world. She's still alive, you know. Yes, when I saw her, she appeared to be unconscious. I'm afraid to say she had the gun that was used in her hand. No. Presumably the gun that's still down there on the floor now. In her pocket, we found the key to the door as well. What? The key to the storeroom? And you say the storeroom had been locked from the inside, Inspector? Correct. All of which leaves her ladyship's friend in something of a sticky situation, I'm afraid. Obviously, my personal opinion is that all sort of a misunderstanding. Of course it is, Inspector. Of course it is. Gregsy, do you know anything about Hurley? Is the operation finished? Is Hurley alright? Is he? The thing is, don't mince your words, Inspector, please. You don't mean to say that Mr. Sholmes is... No, the operation is done and dusted. It's just that, well, out with it. Yes, ma'am. They use something called a general anesthetic. It's the latest thing, renders the whole body insensitive. The whole body anestheted. Is that even possible? It means the operation can be completed while the patient is fast asleep. Goodness. In the Empire of Japan, we just managed to provide laughing gas for tooth extraction. The trouble is, the latest thing isn't always the greatest thing, and if you follow my meaning. They couldn't get the medication to work at first, so it took hours for him to nod off, so I hear. And now the op's finished, they can't get him to wake up, apparently. Oh my. No one knows the anesthetic is still in the system, or if the bloke's just plain exhausted. But anyway, all they can do is stand back and watch until he comes around again. Hurley. The moment he opens his eyes, your ladyship, I swear I shall get word to you. What a surprise, even in matters of life and death. Mr. Sholmes has to do things his way. Look at all these articles that have been deposited. The room is stuffed full of them. I can't believe how many there are. A bicycle, a gramophone, and musical instruments. Even some enormous paintings. Look. Pieces of different people's lives, quietly gathering dust in here together. There's something very peaceful about the atmosphere in here. Or at least it would be if there weren't the chalk outline on the floor. And the policeman shuffling around. Not much I can do about that, Sunshine. Out of all the articles in the storeroom, this is the only thing that shows any sign of being ransacked. What is it, Iris? That's the box file that my manuscript was being kept in. Oh. Iris's unpublished story, The Hound of the Baskervilles. Surely that's not what all this... Sorry, Iris, but if you ask me, he sold it. Without telling you. We must check inside the box. At once. Yes. Ah. It was there. Iris's story was there. Really, it was? Well, that's good news, isn't it, Iris? Yes. I mean, of course I believe Hurley when he said he deposited in here. But still. It's a relief to actually see it. Really, because that's not a very well hidden frown. Iris's manuscript has been entered into the court record. The Hound of the Baskervilles. How does Sasada-san know the exact title of his unpublished story? We'll have to wait till she's ready to explain. I'm so sorry. Please have marked the position of the body with a chalk line. Poor Mr. Windybank. He was a nice old man. Well, he was shot just once through the heart. Most likely the fellow died instantly. He wouldn't have felt a thing. This must be his blood then. Ah! I don't like to have such a wretched time, Iris, but I wonder if perhaps... Don't worry, Susie, I'm ready for the action. So now we know the color of the chemical turns when it reacts with Mr. Windybank's blood. Which means it's not Mr. Windybank's blood on the sill. And it doesn't match up our analysis of the blood sample we found in the main shop. No, but let's add the sample to the others we've already collected anyway. The blood samples portfolio has been updated in the court record. This is a revolver, a real one. And quite possibly the murder weapon. You used to take Mr. Windybank's life. What's the matter, Susie? You and Runo look like you're about to faint. Well, it's just that I rarely seen a gun in the flesh. And I've had issues with guns in the past. Anyway, we saw Mr. Windybank with us yesterday, didn't we? I shall have to take my own life. I must be the same gun. And last night, when I looked through the spy hole in the door to the storeroom here, it was the same gun I saw in Gina's hand. Mr. Windybank told us that he ever had a single bullet loaded in his revolver, didn't he? Well, it's empty now. The one and only bullet he had in his gun has been fired. So we can be fairly certain that only a single shot was fired from this revolver. Iris. Don't worry, I'm alright. But we must find the true culprit. Yes, absolutely. should keep it down. Oh, sorry. There's a major clue just here. Really? So they must tell Greg Z at once. But as soon as I report it, that'll be it. I'll be stuck here even longer. Stuck here? What do you mean? I haven't been 1 in 2 days already. I need another constable to relieve me to take over the shift. Huh. They really have a tough time, the British police. That doesn't stop us investigating, though, does it? No, I suppose not. Fairly sure it was the calendar he was peering at. Green blood, it just seems wrong somehow. Oh, there are still all sorts of different colors. There are pretty pinks and purples too, you know. Like I said, everyone's blood is different. I wonder what color my blood would turn up. Actually, I don't want to know. I wonder what these are. Do you have any idea, Iris? Haven't you ever seen crutches before? Let me explain. They're for people with leg injuries. To help them walk. You hold them on each arm, you see. Ah, right. I thought they were weapons of some sort. Why would there be weapons in a hospital? I thought maybe a fighter had been injured in battle and contest and been brought here along with his weapons. That's surprisingly plausible. This must be Mr. Sholm's bed. Poor Hurley. I know. It looks as stiff as a board, doesn't it? Oh, I don't think that will bother him. No? I often find him asleep face down on the floor, completely dead to the world. I think I'll call the police if I discovered someone like that. There's a notice board on the wall here. Look. Let's see. What does it say? Thought of the day. On seeing any vermin, calmly and discreetly inform matron. Oh yes, they have rats and mice in the hospitals like this and that, left to feast on all the medicine. If you don't deal with them, there's nothing left to treat the patients. Rats and mice. Oh, I see. This is a rather old building, I suppose. But the doctors and nurses here are all very good, I hear. Certainly hope so, for Mr. Sholm's sake. As if you're about to start. I'm a little bit stuck for a new story idea, actually. Well, consider using what happened to Mr. Natsume, perhaps? Oh yes, that's a fabulous idea. And a great title just popped in my head as well. The Adventures of the Caddy Man. How's that, Runo? I feel like I'm missing some important piece of evidence here. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's something rather troubling here. I've noticed. The red smear, you mean? Yes, it looks like blood, doesn't it? I wonder if Society had picked up on that. Well, in that case, yes, we need Iris. We should show this to her before we forget. Oh, that looks like blood. I would say it's from a gloved finger, almost certainly a glove made of leather. Well, don't worry, Runo. You can leave the rest to me. Fuck. I was looking for the other two colors. Look at that. Yes, that's a color we haven't seen before, isn't it? We simply must add it to the portfolio and blood samples. It could be an important clue. Although, it would be nice to find out whose blood these different colors correspond to at some point. Well, this particular stain of blood... Oh, you've had an idea, haven't you? You know whose blood this is? Yes, I have an idea whose blood this is. Not from the color returned, with a little deduction. That's right. I think it's clear. Iris, you know as well. You first, Runo. Who do you think it belongs to? See, I think it was the thrice-fried Mason. You don't sound very sure of yourself, the way you trailed off there. Well, it was 2 months ago now in that case, and of course I'd never met the victim, so I'm struggling to remember his name. He was definitely the thrice fired, though. The victim? Of the omnibus case? Yes, his name was indeed Mr. Thrice-Fired Mason. But that would mean that this bloodstain was left on the ticket 2 months ago. Yes, I think it was. Gina brought this ticket to Windy Banks yesterday. I'm suggesting the bloodstain was already on it at the time. So it's a smear of blood from the time Mr. Mason was killed 2 months ago. At least I was right about that. Something else is coming back to me now. Mr. McGildred was also wearing leather gloves that night. Now I ask yous, what good-hearted soul wouldn't rush to help a fella bleeding from his stomach? I wasn't about to start worrying about me gloves now, was I? I reached out to give the man a hand. It certainly does look like a leather-gloved thumbprint in this mark. But we know Mr. McGildred had no injuries at the time, anywhere on his body. From which we can conclude that any blood in the glove belonged to the victim, Mr. Mason. Mr. Naruhodo, you sound like Mr. Sholmes. Minus the quirky slip-ups, I hope. Yes, I think you're right, Runo. Very well. Let's make a note of this. I'm just gonna debate where to go.